o'clock. Call the meeting to order with the pledge to the flag. Shall we stand? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Roll call.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Rob Frazier.
Here.
Francis Griffith.
Here.
Kelly Schmidt here. Troy Parmalee.
Here. Okay, agenda as presented.
Yeah. Up at the top of your agenda, it says via Zoom.
Oh.
Just
right.
cross that off. Yeah. I reprinted mine so that it'll look right, but I wasn't going to print off 10 more copies just to fix that. So.
Okay, with that correction, approval.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Troy.
Second.
Butch. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passed. April 7th, regular meeting, which was, we were all back in here with a couple guests. Any additions, changes, corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Troy, second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Public comments? Okay, moving on. Sheriff's report. Kelly, you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So we've got a new sergeant that's doing the sheriff's report.
Okay.
So our report looks a little different now. So I added up the number of traffic stops, there were 7, and the total number of calls in the township were 31.
You know, actually, the summary is nice, but this tells you where it was. And I think that's handy. I mean, you can sit there and look at, you know, well, when there's too many accidents. Well, several of those were on 69 and stuff. So, you know,
Yeah.
you can also pick out some common addresses for problem people. So, I think that's interesting.
Okay. Seaside. Mark.
Not much happened in the last meeting other than we approved the policy for COVID-19 within the fire halls. They have to, before they can pull a fire truck for a fire call, they have to take a temperature unless they've done it sometime in the previous 24 hours. So, I mean, we're
So they're
stuck.
getting on board like everybody else is.
Well, yeah, as far as departments go, we're the strictest policy because of this problem with militias.
Oh, when they come in.
Yeah. Well, they didn't come in, they just did it but they could have cost us a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so,
Okay, good work.
oh, and Jeff made his first meeting. Is he gotta come and get sworn in?
He already has.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he made his first meeting and seemed to like it. He says it isn't as bad as I anticipated, and I think it's probably gonna have to become permanent pretty soon, but don't know for sure.
Sure.
You know.
Well, you know, technically, bills expired.
Yeah,
So-
but we're just kind of waiting to,
Yeah.
we're just kind of waiting to see if he's
Yeah.
gonna be loose enough to make that decision.
Right. Yep.
Okay, our DDA, we were supposed to meet, we didn't meet, we didn't have a quorum, so we're going to meet next week from today. We're going to meet on the 12th here, and with us will be Justin, and also the consumers rep will be here, and I have had made some headways talking to consumers and MDOT engineer Davison, the guy that heads up lighting, that we can use metal poles going from west to Signature Ford. It doesn't have to be wood. And the permit would be pulled by consumers, and they're working on that right now for us. So we've got that in motion. Wheels are in motion on that. And I did talk to the mayor of Perry today, and Sue wants us to go ahead and get a bid for their part too. So we'll do all of that and talk about that in our next meeting. Zoning, we did have one pole barn going up. We did have one violation that they're working on. It's half cleaned up. And that was about it for the month on that. No commissioner, library department.
They got some new signs they can put out when they're open that they see the light. They have a problem in Byron. I didn't realize this, but the librarian in Byron is partially paid by the school system and partially by communities, the district libraries. So that they have a very tough time keeping somebody because that person gets no benefits because they don't get enough hours with the library group. And it's a mess, you know. They need
Well,
to
that's
get-
true of any of the other ones, isn't it?
No?
No, because all the rest of, they're in separate buildings. We don't have anybody else in the school except that one.
Okay.
And
You mean the school can't keep a librarian or the
well,
library can't?
the one librarian works for both entities.
Oh, okay.
And the books are all owned by Community District Library. They're not owned by the school. You have to adhere to the school's time frames, which has become a problem at times. So there's a couple buildings that we go there. I don't know why they don't do something, get with Burns and see if they can't do something like they did up in Lothrop. That was the only other school, you know, but it's their thing. They're still working on their website. And Shiawassee Township has allowed them now to put a sign out, the temporary signs out. They've been fighting a lot of things over there, so. And that's pretty much it for that.
Okay, okay, good. I-69 trade quarter, Howard?
I mean,
All right, with that, we're going back to Mark, SCDP.
New officers, Brian Marks is the chairman, and guy from Tom from the hospital is the vice chair. I forget who the other are. And when we discussed, you know, every 5 years they hire an outside company to come in and make sure our marketing plan is good and do some marketing for us. And we had that guy on an electronic feed and discuss some of that, you know.
Where's he from, roughly?
Ohio, I think. It's the same guy that we've used in the past. And what they've discovered through this whole thing with all the phone calls and everything they did, that we have to do more than just manufacturing and industrial. It's just where they had concentrated their efforts before. They're going to be doing more retail and stuff than they were, because there's a need. Even though the chamber's involved in that too, there's still a need from that aspect. So, and you got a new chairman of the chamber up there.
Oh, yeah. He's new.
You know, he used to be with Baker College.
Oh,
He was one of the outside sales reps, so to speak. Greg's a pretty good guy.
okay. Planning commission?
No meeting.
No? And you are going to meet though this time, I think, this month.
I don't know.
The only thing that we have is a recommendation for a barn being put up out
Thornapple.
on Thornapple.
Variance. That's
A
your
variance.
packet. Okay.
They're in there on the
Oh,
table.
they're on the table.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything we got to do on that?
only if you guys want to.
Just a recommendation.
I've got one.
Oh, okay.
It's just a
I mean,
recommendation.
see, you know, rezonings, we always make a recommendation. If we want to on variances, you can. It's whatever you guys want to do.
Okay, all right, well,
Okay.
I'll see what they,
Want to do, okay.
it's usually I have to make phone calls to find out what's going on anyways.
Okay. All right. Let us know if you're not. It's on the agenda, it's on the monthly schedule. but- Okay. Okay, with that, that's our comments. Financial report and pay the bills, Troy.
All right, you got your bills list in front of you. Got our first revenue sharing check for the fiscal year. Everything looks good there. Are any questions?
That's a little higher than we were getting last year, isn't it?
No, it's, provided that chugs along, we'll be right where we need to be.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the bills. Motion financial report. Mark? Butch, second. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Craig Herman.
Yes.
Okay. Correspondence, I had a phone call and then an email from the Perry Public School Superintendent, Lori Haven, new superintendent of schools, wanted to meet the staff, Troy, Kelly, and I. So I talked to her last week. She was going to come in yesterday or today. I said, well, I'm usually there till 3, and Troy's usually here till noonish, but that you can come in any time between 9 and 3. So she didn't come in yesterday, and she didn't come in today. But anyway, she just reaching out for a meeting to discuss public schools, may partner with Perry Township in supporting our families through promoting policy opportunities provided by Perry Public Schools and the community, develop a strategy plan in February 2020. We have slowed our advancement of the plan to accommodate the unique needs tied to the pandemic learning, but are continuing to work toward our goals. That was the letter. So I don't know any more than that. Okay. Any more correspondence, Kelly? Troy? Public comments, second one, okay. Unfinished business. Kelly, let's talk about the Slocum update. You got a little update for us.
So I got a call from Dwayne, and he said that the ZBA tabled the action on the Slocum application because the Slocums wouldn't do anything on Winnegar Road. They said we don't have to, and we're not doing it. Winnegar, yeah. And so the ZBA recommended for the Slocums to apply for a driveway permit from MDOT. And once Larry gets information back from MDOT, they'll put it back on the agenda for the ZBA.
Okay. All right.
This will go on forever.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's what we know about right there. Okay. And new business. We have with us in the audience Dave Draco. Say that right? Dave from the recycling over in Langsburg. As you know, we lost our recycling program, so to speak, and they have one, and he wants to give us an update and tell us all the good news about that. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the opportunity to be on your agenda and come and speak to you this evening. I've been a volunteer for the Greater Langsburg Recycling Group for a number of years, and just a word of background, we are currently in a cycle of trying to, well, we've already gotten approval to be on the agendas of all of the townships, the towns, Perry, Langsburg, Ovid, and all the townships, as well as will be appearing before the Shiawassee County Commissioners and the Clinton County Commissioners to give them an update that I'll be giving to you this evening. You might have seen, if you follow the Lansing Journal at all, you might have seen that the state of Michigan is making major commitments for recycling here in the state. In fact, on April 19th, they announced that they have designated $97 million for recycling projects across the state. The first step in this amount of money that they're distributing is to establish recycling centers across the state. We have found ourselves in a very fortunate position because a year ago, we launched a community-owned partnership program, a development program, with an effort to build a permanent location for our recycling program there in Langsburg. The centerpiece will be a pole barn, a drive-through pole barn, where folks in the wintertime will be inside. Folks will be able to pull through, drop off their recyclable materials. There'll be volunteers there to help them distribute them in the right bins, make sure they're clean, and that sort of thing. That kind of thing we've been doing. So the timing has really been fortunate for us with this project. Let me back up just a half step. The Greater Langsburg Recycling Group started over 30 years ago. It's a volunteer effort. It's been open. A lot of your residents will know, because we have quite a few from Perry Township and Perry, the city of Perry, who come over on a monthly basis to take advantage of that center. We've been open the second Saturday of the month, and as I say, that program has been in operation for over 30 years. A year ago, we lost the site where this program was taking place. We're still located there. Well, we haven't been meeting because of the pandemic, but starting in June, we're going to start back up again. We're in the same place, but they tore down the building we were using to store our equipment and to be able to do some of the work inside. And so a year ago, January, we went to the community through a community forum. And at that forum, a number of new people came and are now a part of our Greater Langsburg. So we gained some new energy in that. And as a part of that group, one of the first things we did was to write a grant to, I always have to look, it's Michigan's Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, the Eagle Department, which used to be the DEQ. We wrote a grant for $110,000 to fund this project. $90,000 would come from the state. There would be a $20,000 to $25,000 match that we had to raise on our own. So to do that, a year ago, about this time, we went around to the same, to the city of Langsburg, several townships, and both the Shiawassee County and Clinton County, and you'll notice in your handout that we were able to raise $23,000 in commitments, and the state accepted that as our match
Oh,
for their $90,000.
okay, that's good.
So, we got that submitted in like March or April of last year. Then we began to work to build the foundation for this program. And one of the first things we were able to do was we now have a signed agreement with 3 community partners. The first partner is the Greater Langsburg Recyclers Group. The Greater Langsburg Recyclers will run the operation, provide the volunteers, so there won't be any salaries, so that's going to reduce our costs significantly. Plus, we're going to be able to move from a drive once a month to 2 times a week. So we're going to be able to increase the volume of our recyclables significantly with this new program. The second partner is the Langsburg school system. The Langsburg schools are giving us the land for this building. And if you're familiar with Langsburg, there's a little insurance shop on Woodbury Road, just south of the grocery store. There's a school maintenance building that sits back there. Our building will set back there on that property. And the school will take ownership of the building. So they will handle the maintenance and that sort of thing on the building. The third community partner is the city of Langsburg. The grant that we submitted to the state is what's called a reimbursement grant. You're probably familiar with that. It means that we have to spend the money for the materials and that sort of thing, and then submit the invoices to the state to get reimbursed. So the city has agreed to be the fiduciary agent to, we can submit the bills to them, they'll pay them, and then they'll seek the reimbursement from the state. We have currently let bids for the building and the improvement on the road that goes, the lane that goes back, and we're now working on that. We have been fortunate that the main force behind our recycling group is a gentleman who worked at the Michigan State University for a number of years in their environmental department. He has helped us to design this so that it will be a model for other small rural communities that they can adopt for their locations. And he's currently doing research through the MSU Center for Community and Economic Development. And he has been interviewing experts around the state and around the country to help us put this program together. So we feel like we have a good, solid plan. We've gained more over the last year with the research. We've gained more information, and through the bids that we're working on, the cost of the project has increased and currently stands at $140,000. $115,000 is will be for the building, and $25,000 for the equipment. And the main reason for the equipment, we're going after a baler and a high-low. The baler will allow us to compact all of the recyclables into a square. The high-low will allow us to move those around, and the building is designed so that we can store that material until there's enough to fill a semi. So that, because one of the major costs is transporting this stuff here and there. So that will also reduce our costs significantly. Okay, wrap this up. We have good news. The state approved our grant, but it came with some bad news. We had asked for $90,000. They approved $50,000. So we lost about $40,000 in the process. We became aware of that a little while ago, and so we got right to work. We have developed a GoFundMe page. We're spreading the word through Facebook and social media. We've gotten about $16,000 in GoFundMe and personal checks. The Cook Family Foundation has given us $23,000 here just within the last month. $17,000. All in all, we currently have commitments for $110,000, which was a year ago. That was our goal. So we feel like we've made great strides this last year. But as you can see, we're currently about $30,000 short of where we need to be, where we would like to be. Let me just say one more quick word. We have enough on hand that we plan on breaking ground for the building late summer or early fall. We've got enough for the building. It's the equipment that we may have to work on getting later.
Do you think you'll just keep the one Saturday going then, until you get all the equipment to handle, if you had to open it more,
Yeah.
or not?
The whole thing will evolve as, you know, if we have the building ready by hopefully November, hopefully between now and then, we'll be able to raise enough of the extra money and be able to have, we're looking for a used baler, and we have one of the trucking companies that we've been working on, they're trading out a high-low. So we might be able to get we're looking for used equipment, and so we're hopeful that by the time the building is ready, that we'll be able to finish it. If not, we'll have to continue as we are until we get there. First reason I'm here is to give you that information. The second reason I'm here, you've already guessed, or read in your handout. We are going around, as I mentioned, around to each of the municipalities again to ask you if you would consider making a financial donation toward this project.
Troy's our money.
Troy.
He's the man that has.
Well, I don't make all the decisions.
But we have a budget.
So how do you, I mean, we for about 10 years here had a recycling program here at our transfer station. We finally had to give it up because we just had constant abuse, taking place. And so what do you, I mean, we were doing it through Granger. What it sounds to me is you're trying to, you're going more direct with the recycling companies. So right now, is that does it cost to get rid of them, or is it about neutral, or are you getting paid for them, or how does that work? Because we had cardboard, and that went both ways. There was a while where we actually got credit for it, and then we had to pay to get rid of it too.
Which means you're well aware that this whole recycling industry has been.
It's a commodity, yes.
It's up and down, and to our credit, we'd like to brag on ourselves a little bit. And again, this is largely due to 2 or 3 of our key members who have kept us in business by being in touch with Granger, Lancor through the, Friedland and Lansing. We've been dealing with them most recently. But for 31 years, we've been able to find the trucking people that would they bring out a semi-trailer, park it on Friday night, and they also bring one of those large a dumpster that's as long as the semi-trailer for cardboard. They bring those out, set them, and then they're there for the recycling on Saturday. And through donations of people coming and dropping off, we have a little box out there, we ask for $3 to $5. Some people do, some people don't. But we've been able, through those donations, we've been able to cover all of our expenses for 31 years. So we haven't had to ask for anything beyond that. So we feel that once we get the building, the equipment, and get up and running, we'll be able to handle it.
So the money you have committed from, I know, our county, is that a previous one, or is that like a previous year one, or is that the current commitment? Because you have here, for building costs, Shiawassee County, the county government gave you $7,000, but then on the back it talks about,
Yes.
the county. Because where I'm going with that is that I know our county has a special fund that they have for just this kind of purpose that's administered through the solid waste committee. Because we got, I don't remember, a couple $1,000 for our center to do some concrete work and stuff like that. And that money's earmarked from waste management, specifically for that. So I assume, is that where that came from?
Yes. Yeah. And we're hopeful. Our main contact, Emily Freeman, who was our main contact with the Eagle Department in Lansing, and Kate Meese with Clinton County. In conversations with them, they feel strongly that both counties could probably float this themselves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They get our county gets a substantial amount of money from waste management,
Yeah.
and that money is earmarked. And it's supposed to be for this kind of thing, solid waste reduction. It goes towards like when they do their household hazardous waste collections and all that, provided that the commissioners haven't gotten their little paws on it. But yes, I mean, that's what I want to say is they have a substantial amount of money that is for this exact purpose. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just a word about that. One of the reasons that we're optimistic is that last year when we made this circuit with as you'll notice with the units that made contributions, at that time we were only talking about a dream. We hadn't even yet submitted the application to the state, but they were willing to step out and make those contributions at that time. We're now hopeful, now that we know that we've got 50,000 coming from the state, and we've got another 50 to 55,000 coming from these other sources, and now that we know that where our shortage is, we're hopeful that these other, that everyone that we're making this presentation to kicks in, we're very hopeful that we'll be able to make it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, like I said, I was on the charter of that. I did that for almost 10 years when we did it, and he got very frustrated, because we had, there were politics involved that didn't simplify the situation, but I mean, we had it at the transfer station, which was a staff facility, so we thought there wouldn't be problems, but nonetheless, we continue to have people throwing their garbage into the recycling container, throwing their garbage into the cardboard container, and, it got to the point where when Granger just had to landfill it, we got to pay for that, and it was a waste of everyone's time, so it was very frustrating.
But you said you've got somebody there on site that, all the time? You have someone there all the time?
Whenever it's open, we will have volunteers there to welcome the people as they come in. They will assist them in dropping off their materials to make sure that it goes in the right bins. It sounds a little crazy that we have to clean our stuff we're throwing away.
No, you do, yeah.
Clean detergent bottles, clean glass jars, tin cans, pizza boxes that have the corrugated, the greasy pulled out. That stuff improves the sellability of the stuff that we're collecting. And because of what you were saying, if you don't have someone there helping them, well, sorry, we can't take that.
It's just hard to manage.
Well, we got to the point, I mean, there was that stuff, people that just made a mistake or didn't sort this right. Then we had people that were just maliciously abusing
The
it.
tires or just stuff.
Yeah, throwing tires in and everything else like that. I mean, that wasn't an accident, that was an intentional act.
Where was that located?
So in Morris, there's the transfer station, which is a refuge collection point on Britton Road it's basically right at the edge of the village of Morris, kind of between Perry and Morris.
Yeah, I was thinking.
And, they're open 3 days a week type thing, and, because you can take garbage there to get rid of, I mean, you have, and, so we had a joint agreement with us, City of Perry and the Village of Morris, and we collected donations there, and the donations covered roughly half of the cost, what we were charged by Granger on it. And then the village provided the site, and then we acted as the fiduciary, and then the township and the city, we kicked in a couple $1,000s a year to help make up the difference of what wasn't covered by there. And it chugged along, and we had a lot of positive response, but like I said, we struggled getting cooperation from the staff member there to at least stop people from throwing tires into the cardboard container. And we weren't successful in that, and it just, after several times where it ended up having to be landfilled and everything, which was a waste of everyone's time, we just, the committee, which had representatives from all of them, we just decided, this just wasn't going to work unless we could find something else. So I'm glad you guys have had something that's worked. My just off the cuff thought was, what if we sent a letter to John and to the Solid Waste Committee, really encouraging them to up their contribution? Because, I mean, I don't remember what it was. I think it's like, isn't it like $50,000 a year they get from Waste Management?
That or more.
It's a lot of money.
And they do use a portion of that for when they get TVs and stuff.
But like when we've, they gave us a little bit of money when we did the recycling there, but I mean, there's not as much money that gets steered this way or Lanesburg's way. I mean, we all know the world revolves around the Wasso Corona. So, what if we sent them a letter encouraging them, I mean, I don't know why they couldn't give them $20,000 or $30,000 for a one-time thing on this.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm not trying to kick it off to somebody else, but I mean, they get money that is specifically earmarked for just this time of thing.
For this.
Absolutely, for solid waste.
Yeah, and Dave, how many people from Perry Township roughly in a year, how many people from Perry Township use the Lanesburg area?
We have tried from time to time to determine that. And I should have asked our head honchos.
Well, you can email me, just email me.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some, I'm sure, because there's a lot of, the people who are very dedicated and
Recyclers.
loyal recyclers, I mean, they will do, I mean, they'll drive into Michigan State to get rid of it at their facility and stuff.
Or wherever.
We were really, when we did it here, you know, I mean, it was a convenience factor, so you're 5 minutes away instead of 20 minutes away type thing, you know, but, so I guess
I will get that information.
for me, that's where I would start, is sending them something to really encourage them to, you know, something that will serve the southwest and the western side of our county here.
Yeah.
You know, separate, because I believe Waste Management at their Venice Township facility does recycling too, but that's on the total east,
Right.
you know, that's on the Lennon side of the county, so something over our way would be really good.
One of our challenges at this point is that our fiscal year runs April 1st to the end of March, so we've already approved budget for this year, you know, and so then we have to come up with money from our aspect, we have to do some creative work.
I mean, we allocate a certain amount for these kind of purposes, and we've allocated it out so far, but I strongly think that the county really should be the bigger lead on there, because we don't get a revenue stream every year, and like I said, that money, when they renegotiated that with Waste Management, that money was supposed to be restricted, and it could only be used for these kind of purposes. It couldn't just get swallowed into the general fund and disappear.
Would you want us to do that?
Of course,
Okay.
sure,
We'll
yeah,
have
any,
choice.
We'll draft a letter to our county commissioner and the solid waste committee,
We'll get a copy to you, so you
and we'll
know.
get you a copy.
Okay.
And,
It would be nice to know if, you know, if you knew roughly how many, that would be a help, if we could add that in the letter.
I've got to know,
I saw that.
because
Perfect,
I know that, they did do some survey work, trying to get a feel for, especially for the Langsberg area, how many people shopped in Langsberg while they were dropping off their materials.
Oh, sure,
And they've done some survey work like that. We're also gonna, I don't think I mentioned, businesses and schools, through a membership process, will have a key to the building, and they'll be able to have 24/7 access, so that they can go in and, because they produce more than maybe they would.
Does anybody at the board have questions for Dave? Any questions, Butch?
so what is it, just out of curiosity, what do you charge for a membership for businesses like that?
That's still in process.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's a very good idea, that's, you know.
What I've heard in our committee is, something maybe around $100 a year.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
Because we had some, you know, we had some very nice citizens who, you know, wrote us some, you know, made some large donations, and then we just had $1 or $2, you know, that was put in the donation box each time.
And
so-
it changed.
Can change, yeah, so.
Um,
So let us see if we can get anywhere there first, Dave, and then we'll, you know, go
If
from
not,
there.
we got time, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
the building's gonna start when?
late fall, or
Late
late
fall.
summer or early fall.
Early fall. Okay. Thanks for coming in and sharing all
Yes,
this.
thank
with
you.
us.
If we could mention,
Sure.
it's in that handout, but I didn't really mention it. You mentioned funding stream.
Mhm.
That's another, excuse me, that's another thing that we're gonna need for a year or two, is an annual donation, and I think it explains it.
Yeah, you have it on a lot line there,
Yeah, great.
Till we can get started.
yeah.
Thank you again, Dave.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. Drive careful home and,
Yeah,
Good, you've made a lot of progress, congratulations on it.
absolutely.
it's been a great team to work with. The new people that we got from last year and so forth, they've brought some new energy and enthusiasm. So, thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming over.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Other new business we have to look at is Troy, budget amendment.
All right, you remember we did one of these last month, and we have to recognize our unrealized gain or loss on our cemetery treasury bonds, even though we don't really have a gain or loss.
Okay.
But we have to recognize it at the end of the fiscal year. Well, we did this last month. Before our meeting, I had called our broker that handles them asked for the account balance, they gave it to me, and they gave me the wrong amount.
Oh, they did, so this is a
So
correction
this
from
is to
last
make
year.
it, this is to adjust it to make it correct, because we did it for 5,000 last time, and it ended up being $5,617.44, so.
So do we have a motion to approve the budget adjustment on roads?
Yes, we did.
Mark,
Yeah.
do we have a second? Butch, roll call vote, Kelly, for this.
Francis Griffin.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Fermeli.
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Okay, and no more public comments because there are none. So do we have an adjournment for the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Kelly.
second it. I'll second it.
What is this letter from Buttigieg?
Who? Pete? I don't know.
Oh,
Oh, that must be Kelly.
I didn't know that was something that I got.
I think the I-69 corridor had put one together encouraging the finish I-69, that's what it is.
All in favor?
No, I don't know if you've ever driven to South Bend, but our roads are
Better?
pristine compared to South Bend. It's terrible.
You know, a lot of places are